90-Day Fiance. Sharp Entertainment will never let us down when it comes to simply disappointing us. Why do they feel the need to keep recycling people? New news has come out about a new spin-off. Now, we know in the last 2 years, 3 years, we've had new spin-offs such as Hunt for Love, as well as also Between the Sheets, and also The Last Resort. Those have been the new addition recently. And then also prior to that, we had Pillow Talk, 90 Day Diaries, The Other Way, Love in Paradise, Before the 90 Days, Happily Ever After, and of course the flagship show. Then we also have Tell All No Limits when it comes to Happily Ever After. And maybe there's another one that I've skipped there that I've forgotten about. But more of the story is we know that when it comes to 90 Day, when it comes to Sharp Entertainment, they're making the 90 Day franchise into a whole universe. They've made it into a whole universe. And they continue to make it into a whole universe. That's another one. 90 Day Single Life is another one too. And listen, we love it. We love the fact that there are so many different adaptations. There are so many spin-offs because these spin-offs bring in a different type of flavor in different ways. Like, for example, 90 Day The Other Way. We get to experience Americans moving to another country, seeing how they adapt, how they cope, how they obviously respect or disrespect the culture that they're going to, all that kind of stuff. It's lovely to see that aspect of it. It's even lovely to see before the 90 days. So we can see how these couples have potentially met, how they're getting on. Are they going to make it to the next show where they're actually going to be on 90 Day Fiance, where they're actually now in America to actually get the 90 days on in? So listen, these different couples are lovely. The single life, seeing obviously how they cope now they're single, now they have to navigate and try and find someone else. Listen, all of this is lovely. And don't get me wrong, whether the shows have been heavily produced, whether they've been potentially scripted, either way, they are always relatable. And honestly, it's lovely. But one of the most main things that people do not like is recycled cast members. And you know what they've gone and done? We know that when they made The Last Resort was for recycled cast members. We know when they made The Single Life, it was for recycled cast members. We know when they made Pillow Talk was for recycled cast members. 90 Day Diaries, recycled cast members. There's another one that was literally in my head that I just forgot. Happily Ever After, recycled cast members. We know that when we watch these specific ones, we're going to get that. With a guarantee, which is fine. Because Happily Ever After, why would we not want to know about what's happening next? So I get it, it's fine. Single Life, of course, why would we want to know what was going on next for these people? This is just fine. The Last Resort, to knowing if they can finally make it over the line again, if they can redeem their relationship. Okay, it's fine. I love these concepts. I love the concepts. But recycling people so many times becomes fatigue, becomes, and now they've done it again. Right now, there has been this information that is speculated on different media pages on social media, but I'm picking this one specifically because there's also a comment that I also want to talk about. But as we head over here to the Instagram of Shabooty.com, as you can see, Sharp Entertainment is filming a new 90 Day spin-off show starring Florida couples. Courtney, Yara, Jasmine, Darcy, and Lauren, and their significant others. Now, just to let you know, folks, there are also other couples in Florida that, who knows, may also be a part of this spin-off. Now, right now, obviously, the names that are being put out there are the names that we have seen gathered together with the camera crew watching them. So don't forget, there is also Andre and Libby, who are also from Florida, from what I remember. So who knows, they may appear. I believe it's also Annie and Robert. I could be wrong about their names. I'm pretty sure it's Annie and Robert, the one from Dominican Republic. Yes, but to be fair, last time we had 3 couples from Florida, that being Libby, Lauren, and Yara on Happily Ever After. Annie and Robin was not invited, and I remember them being upset about it. But either way, though, there are also other couples from Florida that, you never know, might also appear on this upcoming season. Or you never know. It may not only be for the upcoming season, but maybe other seasons to come anyway. But as you can see here, the question is, who can stomach more Jasmine and Lauren? What? Who can stomach more Jasmine and Lauren? Nah. That is the wrong question. Who can stomach any one of these cast members that are coming back? Courtney. You know what? Let me not go down the route where I'm just going to ridicule these cast members of why they shouldn't come back. But I'm just going to say it's simple and a very nice way. Who wants to see Courtney back? Who wants to see Yara back? Who wants to see Jasmine back? Who wants to see Darcy back? And you know, when there's a Darcy, there's a Stacy. So who wants to see them back? Who wants to see Lauren back? and therefore who wants to see their significant others back? That is the question, and that's how I'm going to say it in a very polite way. Yeah, rather than give my own detail of why I don't want to see these people back. But also, as you can see, continued by saying the only reason this was greenlit is because filming all the couples in the same state reduces production costs since they're not flying around everywhere, which to be fair does make a lot of sense. The most prudent thing we can do is boycott this show in effort to ice Jasmine's huge. Listen, every single person on that cast has got a huge ego. Anyone that comes back to 90 Day Fiance time and time and time again have big egos. I'm not gonna sit and say that I'm gonna sit and just pick on one person and say, oh, it's Jasmine. No. Let's not single someone out. Let's target them all. Because really and truly, if you really look at it and you really break it down, what's one thing that I can really tell you that a lot of these women have in common? Maybe everyone apart from Courtney, and maybe even apart from Lauren, give or take. We know that Darcy has an issue with cosmetics on her face all the time. We know that Yara has the same thing because she looks completely different to how she looked at the very beginning, and so does Jasmine. Do you know what I mean? Oh, goodness gracious me. Yeah, of course Lauren had the mommy makeover, but that was more to her body, face, not so much. So I'll let her off, and Courtney's just Courtney. But either way though, let's get into the comment that was left here by Statler. She says, for those wondering why the same recycle people over and over again, it's because they're committed to the bit. They'll be willing to say and do anything that production asks them to create good TV, aka heavily produce or create storylines that are already formed before filming even begins. They are desperately trying to make a 90-day universe out of this, however, to continue to miss the mark. That is the key point so far. They continue to miss the mark. The mark is bring us something new, but don't bring us recycled people. Hunt for Love is another one with recycled cast members. Just remember that as well. And this is the problem. They've got so many spin-offs, and most of the spin-offs are based on recycled cast members. This is where they continue to miss the mark. When they made Hunt for Love, the problem with that was that they made that show more about cast members that already been in the show rather than the people that they added to the show. And that was where they missed the mark massively. And they will continue to do that, unfortunately. We continue by saying the original formula was perfect, which is true. Unfortunately, Sharp Entertainment is more business than actual entertainment. Listen, anything in this world that makes money is always more business than it is entertainment. Unfortunately, WWE is only getting worse upon worse nowadays because TKO took over, and now it's become way more of a business than ever before. The entertainment factor is just, yes, I'm just projecting my frustrations. And to be fair, I've said the same thing for AEW, but anyway, it is what it is. Now, with that being said, though, as you can see, it says, so they're attempting over and over again to sell you the same different packaging, in different packaging. And she's not lying. It's literally the same thing, just in different packaging. But will Sharp Entertainment ever get to a point where they recognize that people are bored of the recycled people? Now, here's the thing, though. There's only one good benefit as a content creator, okay? There's only one real benefit from recycled cast members. It means that each time I make a video and then I make a title and it's got a name that you're already familiar with, you're more likely to click on that video, especially if you're somebody that doesn't watch 90 Day religiously and it just pops up on your timeline and it says Darcy this. Some people are going to be like, oh, I haven't heard about Darcy in a minute. Oh, you know what? I haven't seen 90 Day in a minute. Let me just see what's happening. And if they see a name that they're familiar with, they'll be like, oh, let me see what's going on with this person again. Then there's some people who look at the name and be like, oh, I don't want to see her about, I don't want to hear about her no more. No, I can't do it. But either way, though, when it comes to engagement, more or less, you're probably going to get better engagement when there's a name that's familiar with. Because each time there's a new season, like, for example, right now with 90 Day Fiance, the new season, on the very first few weeks when people aren't familiar with the names, when you add names that people don't know, obviously in a title, obviously to begin with, it can, make the views start off a bit low. And then as the season progresses and people start to catch more wind of the new cast members, that's when obviously the views can then start to escalate a bit more because now people are familiar with that name. So again, the only thing that's really, I would say, is the main benefit from recycled people, not even for viewers, just for content creators, it's just recycled names are good for engagement. Do you know what I mean? But for viewers, generally speaking, who don't even go online or whatever, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. So more of the story is stop recycling people. Make a new show where it doesn't involve recycle. Please. Please. And they really killed it, really missed that mark when it came to Hunt for Love. But nonetheless, though, We're now going to move on to something else. We're now going to talk about, funny enough, someone who's new from the new season of 90 Day Fiance, and that being Marissa and Edward. Now, when it comes to Marissa, she is somebody that has pretty much been under fire since the season has even begun. But this week's episode, we finally saw her and Edward together, because throughout the season so far, we saw her obviously being in America, preparing for him to come, while obviously Edward was getting ready to come to America. But now he has finally landed, and this is what people have had to say on the Reddit. Why is she grabbing him like a little kid? To be fair though, I mean, in her defense, they've gone for a walk, well, power walk, should we say, and he just couldn't keep up with her power walking. In fact, he had a jog when she was power walking, which was rather embarrassing. So it's more the case of the fact that this kid just, well, now I'm calling him a kid, this man just could not keep up. But let's see what's being said here at the bottom. First of all, I've seen people bash Marissa on her looks and that she looks older. I usually like to judge people based on their character, not appearance or gender. I just don't like her character or personality. She seems like a stuck-up woman. To be fair, I would imagine the reason why this person believes that she seems like a stuck-up woman is because when she speaks about finances and certain things, she definitely gives that vibe. So I can understand why people would feel that way, but it doesn't mean that she is, because sometimes people speak the way they speak because they are a product of their environment. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are generally stuck up, if you know what I mean. But either way though, let's continue. And the season is still young anyway, so who knows? Maybe her showing herself to be stuck up in other people's eyes is going to increase. We shall wait and see. Also continue by saying, yeah, she seems to love her kids, which is good, but Edward is not her child. He's a grown man who is never been outside of his country, which is very true. I like Edward so far. He seems genuine and funny. Oh, do I have to be that person again? Do I have to be that person again? You know, each time we have a show and people don't like the American female, most time American female, they will for some reason want to like the foreign guy that she's with, and then don't see the cracks of the foreign guy that she's with. Let's talk about these cracks nice and early, because you know, I'm always this person that says these things early. People don't even, then people think that I'm simply moving mad. And then people then realize either somewhere throughout that season, or some people realize it once that person comes back to the show more and more again. For example, recently people are now starting to be alert that G and Kara, people thought Kara was the only villain in that relationship. People are now starting to recognize that G is actually somebody that always has to create this narrative where Kara will always be the villain and he'll always be the babyface. When people are now actually recognizing that, hold on a minute, this guy actually does things for the sake of just trying to make it look bad, not because it's generally the way it is. I mean, if you ever notice when it comes to G and Kara, you've even noticed that whenever, you know, she tries to talk and say certain things, he's very quick to shut her down. Some people are starting to realize that now. And I've been saying this literally for seasons. I've been saying since the first time we saw these two that this guy isn't as this and that. But I've always said, when a guy looks a certain type of way and women fancy him, they'll always allow things to go over their head. Now, let's talk about Edward right here, right quick. This guy seems funny and good. No. His encounter with her baby daddy told me everything that I need to know. And I said it before on Monday when I made my video, that her baby daddy came in the way he was supposed to come in. He said, listen, I'm just letting you know that if my sons ever come to me and tell me that they fear you for whatever reason, I will be here so we can sort this out. Any man would say the same thing, and he said it in a very respectful way, in a more respectful way than any other person. Then he also wanted to say, just so you know from my experience, even though he didn't have to say it and probably shouldn't have, but he just said, listen, I want you to work, but I'm just letting you know that, you know, obviously when it comes to Marissa and her family, they can be quite judgmental if they feel like you're not somebody that necessarily comes from money too. If you're not somebody that comes from yours, so just be aware of that. And you know, when he was given both of these advice, the first reaction to the first one was like, well, this guy is obviously trying to show me that he can fight. So if he wants to fight, we can fight. Bro, he wasn't trying to show you or tell you that he can fight. He's just letting you know that he's protective over his kids. But that was his reaction in the cutscenes. And then also with the same thing situation when her ex was just trying to be nice to him and warn him about the family blood, he was like, listen, don't worry about me. I've got me. You know what I mean? Like, I know who I am, so I'll be fine. He doesn't know what's coming. Oh my goodness. He's just hell ungrateful. Nah, there's nothing funny with this guy, but watch it. You see. You will see. People always come back at some point and recognize that everything that I say when it comes to picking people apart, they realize I'm right at some point. Anyway, let's continue. Where we at here? Yes, sir. I like Edward so far. He seems genuine and funny. I don't blame him for having culture shock. Has he had a culture shock yet? I don't think he has had yet, but okay. Marissa saying it's a privilege to use her bathroom, or that he has to keep her with keep up with seems what's the right word. Oh yeah, controlling. I mean, listen. Privilege to use your bathroom, I can understand that is definitely stuck up in the comment that should not be coming out of her mouth. That is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the whole idea of keeping up, to be honest with you, I wouldn't see that as controlling per se. I'm a strong believer that you leave no person behind, you know. So if I am progressing, I want you to progress with me. Whether you're my friend, whether you're a partner, if I'm progressing, we're progressing together. You see what I'm saying? We don't have to progress at the same level, but if I'm about to learn something new, I'm going to invite you to see if you want to learn it too. You see what I'm saying? Okay. I'm never going to go and learn something new and say, oh, I'm learning something new and not tell you about it. No, I'm going to invite you to and give you and ask you if you want to join. Do you see what I'm saying? So really and truly, for her to ask him to keep up and whatnot, I don't really see it as a negative personally. I see that more as, listen, I'm hoping that you can keep up with me. So like, you know, like if I'm doing something, I want you to try and keep up with me. But of course, if it's a case of where Edward does not want to keep up and he does not want to get involved and she's trying to force him, then you know what? Controlling is definitely the factor. But controlling isn't also then the factor in that conversation. If it's a case of where he doesn't want to keep up with certain things or whatnot, depending on what they are, it could also be a sign to say that maybe they're just not compatible. But one thing that I will say that definitely has shown that there is a concern with Marissa in this relationship is that she did say before he came, which is so wild, while he was on the plane, she enjoys the privileges that she has as a single person, being able to do this, that, and the other. But at the same time, she still wants to be Edward, so she's obviously going to try and make things work. That was a big concern to me because it makes me wonder how she's going to really navigate this relationship, to be honest with you. Is she going to navigate in a way where she's going to be willing to want to compromise? Or is she going to navigate in a way that says, well, this is how I'm always used to doing things, so this is how things must be? Now, again, some of those things, that mentality can be okay in some situations. For example, in the bedroom. She likes the bedroom to be tidy in a specific way. For me personally, that is not a bad thing. If you want it tidy in a specific way and you want to do it, by no means necessary, you do that, girls. I don't like cleaning and tidying, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it depends on the situation. But anyway, we continue where it says, honestly, if she wanted to stay alone and be by herself, that's fine. It's not wrong to being by yourself or having your own space. That's very reasonable. Absolutely. However, she shouldn't have gotten into a relationship if she liked the lifestyle. I really hope they find a way to actually be a couple and be equals. Listen, I definitely agree with the end of that whole statement. And that goes back to obviously what I was saying a second ago. Anyway, obviously pretty much further adds on to it, doesn't it now? So really and truly, the biggest issue here is whether Marissa actually wants to make this relationship work by understanding that compromise is going to need to be a factor at some point. Or is she going to be naive and think that everything should be her own way, which therefore would result it as controlling and also prove more that she's a stuck-up person? Well, I guess that's something we have to wait and see. But as of right now, all I would say is this: anything that people are critical about when it comes to Marissa, I'm not against you. I definitely agree with anything you got to say. But just because you're going to be critical of Marissa, it doesn't mean you need to protect or be blind to Edward's flaws. That's what I want to say for that one. But now we're going to move on to the next one. Now, this one here is also about another new couple from this current season. To be fair, this couple is even more frustrating than the one we just spoke about, to be honest with you. And this one's all about Mallory and Rasit. So let's dive into this one here. This person says, Rasit, please return to Morris, your stunning Mediterranean home where the sea sparkles and life feels lighter. So this person says, I'm sorry for the guy. Some of Mallory's friends are already calling him a terrorist. Yet he left his gorgeous town and didn't make any nasty comments. Now, just to remind people of this comment here, no one is necessarily called a terrorist per se. She just said that there are people from the redneck community that she's from who were invited to the party or whatever this was for him. And some of them have already made their concerns, you know, about him being a Muslim and all that kind of stuff. So no one's actually come to him and told him that directly as of right now, and hopefully it doesn't happen. But obviously I can understand why this person said it the way they have said it anyway, because I guess it doesn't make a difference. If you're going to label one person something from a certain religion or race, then I guess you're saying it everyone, isn't it? So yeah, I get it. I get it. Also continues by saying, I also don't want to be too harsh on him. Most of us wouldn't feel comfortable with an ex hanging around and being close to our partner. I think English is also a big problem for him, not being able to explain what he means in a calm and pleasant way. He seems like a nice guy to me. You know, we live in this world, and we've always lived in this world. People like to always use language as a barrier. And don't get me wrong, language can't always be a barrier, but at the same time, sometimes language actually isn't the barrier. Sometimes patience is the barrier. For example, when it comes to Zaid and Rebecca, so far what we have seen this week on The Last Resort was that each time Zaid would try and go and explain something to Rebecca, because he has to take a bit longer to explain because he's trying to navigate the right words and trying to find a way to say things, Rebecca becomes impatient with what he's trying to say and assumes what he's trying to say. If he says one wrong word or one word that doesn't align to whatever she wants to hear, all of a sudden she's then quick to shut him down and speak over him. Something that we did see this week, which obviously shows that the issue isn't necessarily Zaya's lack of English, it's her lack of impatience of not wanting, it's her lack of patience of not wanting to give him time to actually finish everything that he wants to say. Now, let's say, for example, we're in a situation here where you allow someone the space to say everything that they want to say. And then by the time they've said everything that they want to say, you're like, yeah, nah, that ain't going to run. That's fair. But at least you've listened, because here's the thing. You can have a conversation with somebody who speaks perfect English or perfect whatever language that you speak. And you know how sometimes when you try and speak to someone and they interrupt you every single bloody word that you say? You know how that happens? It's literally the same thing as somebody who struggles with your language trying to get their words out and trying to find the right words. Because they're taking so long to get there, you end up interrupting them and not letting them finish. So therefore, because you interrupted them, whether you interrupt somebody who's got good your language or has got slower of your language, each time you interrupt that person, either way, the result is still the same. The result is that you're not patient and you're going to assume that this, and the other. That's why you should always let people finish what they're saying first. Then you can have your response. And then that's when we can talk about whether or not language barrier is really the root issue or not. And also on top of that, to be honest with you, I've always said this as well. You see, when it comes to women, when women are trying to express something that is on their mind, women will never tell you directly what the issue is. They will say things around it, and as men, we have to decipher what the actual issue is. Do you see what I'm saying? Listen, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're going to deny it, I know all the men know what they're talking about. Men, come on now, talk to me. How many times you've had a conversation with your woman? She's come up to you and she said, honey, I've got an issue with, well, not even using the word issue to be fair. But either way, come in and said, we need to talk. She says a whole bunch of things. Then you're like, okay. Then you go do all these things. But then she's still not happy. Something is still wrong. What is still wrong? And then eventually you have to really stop and be like, okay, tell me again what's wrong. Then you have to listen to every single thing that she's saying. Then you're like, okay. Then you have to then rephrase what she said. And then be like, oh, so you meant this. And then she's like, yes, because sometimes when women trying to tell you what the issue is, they actually have to reference things, or they'll use something that isn't actually issue has part of it. It's weird. It's weird how a woman's mind works. They be hella frustrated by things, but when it comes to speaking it out, it doesn't come out, and then we have to decipher it. And this is how we end up getting into that conversation. Women say, "My man doesn't listen to me. I tell him to do one thing, he does something else." Blah 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 blah. It's because you see, men that aren't able to listen and read what the woman's actually really trying to say, they end up being put in the doghouse for not doing it wrong, simply for not being able to decipher what the issue is. So the point being is, we can't continue using, somebody having a lack of this language has a reason. If one, if you're not allowing that person to finish, or two, you're not really trying to listen to what they're trying to tell you. But of course, in some situations, yes, somebody's language can realistically be the barrier of why you could not understand things. I'm not saying it's not a thing, it is a thing. And of course, there are plenty of women out there that can definitely tell you what is on their mind and what exactly is wrong and what they want changed without no deciphering. Of course, that can happen. But then there's many out there. Yeah, it's a ball game. I've had my experiences. I'm like the master nowadays at deciphering what women are trying to tell me. So, men, if you need a book to train you, you know what I mean, of how to decipher what your woman's saying to you, that you let me hug me, holler at your boy, and I'll send you the tutorial of how it all works. I'll send you the codes. But anyway. So really and truly, when it comes down to it, obviously the situation with Rashid and Mallory, she has to be more than ever be patient with trying to understand anything that you need. But to be fair, the Mallory has done a decent job of being patient, because to be fair, when he does speak, she does let him finish for the most part, especially if you compare it to Marissa or to Rebecca. You know what I mean? So to be fair, I wouldn't say they have a massive issue with that, to be honest with you. And she has no issues with repeating himself multiple times as well. And to be fair, Mallory has made it clear that she does fully understand what he's saying. She just also made it blatantly clear that even though she knows what he's saying, she doesn't care, because at the end of the day, this man is her friend no matter what. But this man was there for her this whole time in her whole entire life, so therefore, buddy ain't going nowhere. It is what it is. But hey, listen. This comment was quite interesting when somebody said, "Who knew that sitting on someone's tailgate was disrespectful?" I didn't. I thought the same. He's just looking for an excuse to hate him. So the real reason is, why would it be that obvious? Too obvious. I mean, to be honest with you, the truth is, I chose violence any day. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's that odd. I don't think anyone likes a random person sitting on their car without asking, to be honest with you. Like, if somebody was to sit on my car bonnet or my boot or whatever without actually asking me, decided just to lean on it, it's like, what are you doing? I may have just had that washed. So to be honest with you, I don't think that's an odd thing personally. I think people kind of nitpick in there. But hey, it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts anyway when it comes to the situation with them. Now, to leave the video on a positive note, Vanya has come out to let us know that she now has a new car. She said, "I am sad to announce that my beautiful pink sparky charrette has had to go to live in an upstate farm somewhere permanently. My little baby was served me well. But after 185k miles, which is a lot of miles, it was time to say goodbye. The new addition to the family has some big shoes to fill. It's a bittersweet day. Something tells me we'll be able to get along just fine. It's a little bigger than I'm used to, but I think I'll get adjusted over time. What do you guys think?" So, question is, what do you guys think? Well, I tell you what I think. I think that Tony has been spoiling her well. That's what I think. Yeah. She's definitely enjoying being with Tony, and she's enjoying that money. But that's not me to say that she's a gold digger. I'm just saying that she's enjoying the rewards. And you know what? You do you, girl. Whatever works for you, you do you. Either way, though, let me know your thoughts on the video overall, folks. And please, as always, have a great day. Make sure you hype the video. Please do. Like as always. And please do leave your comments so I can read them. Thank you so much for your time, though. And have a great day. That's the one. Have a great Friday. Yeah. Thank you.